Welcome to the Acts 29 podcast. Acts 29 is an organization and global network of churches that exist to plant churches worldwide. Now here's your host, Vice President of Acts 29 Church Planting, Dr. Adam Flint.
Well, welcome to the Acts 29 podcast. My name is Adam Flint. I'm Vice President of Church Planting with Acts 29, and I've got some great friends here with me today. I've been wanting to have this conversation for a while, and so this is Pastor Samuel, and he is in Orlando. And so, Pastor Samuel, tell us a little bit about you, about your church, and then introduce these guys.
Nice. Thank you, Adam. It's a great privilege to be here. I'm also wanted to have this conversation for a while. We've been learning so much with what you guys do. We love the network. We are in love with Acts 29 and with all that it does for church planting. As you said, we are planting a Portuguese-speaking church in the U.S. Soil. So that's something that really wasn't in our minds 6 years ago. While I was preaching and helping a church, an American English-speaking church in Lakeland, Florida. But seeing the needs for a reformed faith and spread of the true gospel, the biblical gospel in Orlando, we started 3 years ago this church plant. And out of that, we have Samy planting in Tampa, Florida. With there was a group actually. Maybe he'll tell a little bit about that. But there was a group going from Tampa to Orlando.
Right. Yep.
Filipe is here from Jacksonville. So be careful. He might outgrow 11-20.
Bring it.
So
I would love that. Also,
some folks are coming here, and Neil, this small fella here, he is in Fort Myers. And there's 3 hours away from Orlando, and a couple families were coming, even with small babies, and every Sunday to worship in Orlando. So we planted these three churches, and there are, brother, in Florida, at least 4 or 5 different places who are trying to start new church plants. There's a possibility of starting something soon in Miami.
So let me just stop you right there. Okay, so you're serving at a church in Lakeland, Florida, which is how far away from where you are now?
45 minutes.
45 minutes.
1 hour.
Okay. So it's an English-speaking church.
Yes.
That church had been in decline, or the pastor had left, and then they hired in a Brazilian pastor, but it was an English-speaking church.
It is an English-speaking church, and the church, I mean, the church is doing well, fine.
Yeah.
Though stagnant in terms of growing and not many newcomers coming to church, and some of the young people were leaving the church. So we started to talk about these things, and even the session and some of the elders started to get worried about that, and that's how we fit in.
So you guys, you go about 45 minutes away into Orlando, and then begin to plant was it always your plan to plant a Portuguese-speaking church? No. As
a matter of fact, before that, we have tried something in English, and it was a disaster. It didn't, it didn't work that well.
Why has everybody got to laugh?
Because though we are trying to plant in English, because we're in the U.S., because of me, only Brazilians were coming. So half of them were not understanding what was saying. They were just there because we're Brazilians.
Right.
So one lady told me, Pastor, my son just told me how great was the sermon for him. I would love to have understood that. And that broke my heart.
Right.
That broke my heart. I said, well, do you know what? We need to start to speak their language, our language. So that's why we switched to Portuguese.
Yep.
And so, do you know what? We're just...
and so it's a couple years that you have been going.
Yes.
I mean, you move in, you begin to lay the foundation for what would become the launch of that church.
Yes.
And then you go through assessment with Acts 29. You've gotten into one of the post-assessment cohorts. You guys launch, and by God's grace,
and
it has been a phenomenal response.
We're running on a regular Sunday, 400 plus people in Orlando, plus whatever is going on in the church plants.
So part of why I'm asking about the timeline is what's so incredible is not only what the Lord is doing among your congregation, like the kind of the original one, but all of a sudden now, like you said, there are these people that are driving an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5, 3 hours, driving up from Miami. I mean, Orlando sits in the middle of the state, and people are literally driving from every corner of the state into Orlando, and you guys go.
And some of these stories, Adam, it breaks my heart to say that, but some of these stories are, we go to churches, but there is no scriptures. There is only this prosperity gospel. There is this.
Right.
They come to hear the Bible. They come to hear the scriptures, expository preaching, applied to their hearts, and that's it. There's no strategic, anything different than just preaching.
I love that. I mean, that's the power of God, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And so at just a relative handful of months, I mean, 2 years, a couple of years in, you start to sense, okay, this isn't sustainable for people to drive like this. Exactly. It's not good. Like, how are they ever going to be incorporated into the body? It's not safe. How are they going to reach their friends?
One of our guys that were coming from Fort Myers, correct me if I'm wrong, but he works through the night on a Saturday, get his family with a baby, and travel 3 hours and a half to be with us on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's not safe.
He slept on me a couple of times, though.
Oh, yeah. That's good to know.
That's right. Well, but what I love is you guys didn't wait for some point down the road, some mythical time when everything would be perfect in your congregation.
We are trying to do that now, and it's not happening. I mean, it's not working. That's what the story in Atlanta is pretty crazy.
Yeah,
because we said, well, people called us from Atlanta saying we need a church here, and we said, no, it's not the timing.
Yeah.
So they did drive. 40 people came from Atlanta, stayed in our worship, in our service, and then they came to the session and said, you guys are our church. We're watching you guys over from there. And we looked to one another and said, well, I think we need to get something going in Atlanta. And that's what's going on right now.
Yeah. And so I think one of the things that's important to highlight here is, yes, you have to be careful not to overextend yourself as a young, brand new church plant. That's great. But then when the Lord is doing something, you got to pay attention and respond to that.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I don't want to make this comparison, make too much of that. But if you go to the book of Acts, I mean, they just grew because of what the Lord was doing.
That's right.
It's different than having strategies. Nothing against his strategies or anything like that. But that's not what happened with us.
Yeah, the Spirit of the Lord will eat a strategy for lunch every day of the week.
I like that phrase.
The old Drucker, culture eats strategy for lunch. The Spirit will eat the strategy for lunch. Yeah. And so, okay, so you're in Tampa.
Yeah.
And then you're coming up here into Jacksonville. And then you're in Fort Myers.
Yes.
And then you're saying, there's some work happening down in the South Florida, Miami area. Yeah. There's something bubbling up in Atlanta.
And then, if I can say, other places that people are calling and coming are from Sarasota. People from Sarasota are coming to Tampa and to Fort Myers. Then Palm Bay. But Gainesville. That's closer. But Gainesville, Ocala. I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
Whatever the Brazilians are.
Yeah,
they are everywhere.
Right, that's right. Thank goodness they are. Hey, so tell me a little bit about what you guys are seeing and experiencing in some of these other communities. Is it a similar type of thing?
Yeah.
Like, why? And I'd say that, and then second would be, why Portuguese and why not English.
Yeah, English.
And because I mean, sometimes you hear people say, "Well, and you talked about your experience. So how have you kind of landed in this place with what you're doing?"
In my case, for example, I am a pastor for 20 years in Brazil, but because that it's happened in Orlando, somehow invited me to go to help him, and when I see the camp, the Brazilian necessity about the healthy church, my heart is warming up for the come here and the help the which the God is do in the place.
I love that. Absolutely.
This is amazing thing for me. In Tampa right now, I because this work in Tampa is starting the last September 2023, and just by one year, we have 96 people and the membership, because it is so fast. No, because I am a great preaching. No, because the necessity of the people, because the people is very necessary.
It's because you're beautiful.
No. I am sure not beautiful, but it's necessary to preach the truth.
But I think some of the things you all are touching on here is like we believe in the power of the word as the transformative. Like it is the power of God.
Yeah, man.
And you're also touching on the missionary work of church planting.
Yeah.
Which is the contextualization of that never changing gospel for the situation you find yourself in. And so God is going, I'm bringing these nations to you now, and you're going, okay, so now how do we reach them?
Yeah.
And you go, okay, culturally, language wise, this is what we need to do in order to reach these people.
And some said he was a Brazilian pastor for 20 years there, and I was 10 years myself before I come here. You've experienced some pastor in Brazil also, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
20 years there.
And I
just
think,
just 20 years.
And I think some of our experiences, I mean, everything here is different.
Yeah.
Because we're in different culture.
Yeah.
And even among Brazilians here, the Brazilians here are different than in Brazil because of their situation. Because of their situation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's completely new. We brought an experienced pastor to our team.
Right.
And he's impressed. He's amazed in saying, we have no idea of what plant churches among immigrants is. It's a completely different thing than anything we have ever experienced.
I agree.
I don't think it's only, for sure it is that, but it's not only that the immigrant situation is different. For sure, that's a huge thing around us. But also because we're immigrants, there's people coming from everywhere in Brazil. It's like putting people together from New York, Miami.
Yeah, and people have no idea how big
Colorado.
Brazil is.
Oh, Brazil is huge. We have a lot of cultures within the same country.
Yeah.
Right.
So Pastor Samuel is from Northeast Brazil. I am from Southeast. It's a totally different culture.
We are better.
Plus, no doubt. But we also have different backgrounds, religious backgrounds as well. People coming from all different types of
even
cults, things like that. So that brings diversity to the church, not just bringing the immigrant aspect, but a lot of cultures within the same church.
Yeah,
because that is the real challenge for us. Because not the language, another language, another cultures, but another habits. You know, habits. This is very different kind of these habits, because that really a real challenge for us.
Yep. And then you throw in the, not only are all those things different, but then you put all of that in a different culture and a different country.
That's right.
And then you start to experience, the economic effects, all of those things, job effects, all of that.
And even the changing in a government, I mean, it affects the immigrants in a way that you have no clue what some of our people needs to go through.
Right.
Because of just a change of, and we have to deal with that.
That's right.
We have to deal
That's right. And that's part of bringing the gospel to bear.
Yes.
Like that's a reality, and the gospel has an answer for those things.
Amen.
Yeah.
And it's not just changes in government. Those aren't our answers. We have better answers.
Amen.
From a better king
Amen.
in a better kingdom. And there are realities to proclaiming that and demonstrating that.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
People. So one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation was, one, I love what's happening, particularly in this example of this, but I started to sense a year or 2 years ago that what's happening among the Brazilians in the United States, Portuguese speaking, and then you begin to look at other groups, immigrant groups, and where languages and cultures are different. And I began to just sense, I think this is one of the leading edges of church planting in the United States in the future. Like I think we have to pay attention, and not just because of population growth, but the Lord is doing something.
Yeah.
Like He is at work and moving.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
I think, if we look to history, we need to be very thankful for the American missionaries, because all of us were fruit of what the American church did 150 years ago. Planting churches in Brazil and elsewhere. There was a missionary movement that went on. And by God's plan and sovereignty, these kind of stopped a little bit. And the American church started, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the American church started to look too much to itself. Though it's still a great missionary sender, it is not in the same pattern and way and effects that were 150 years ago. It changed gears a little bit. And now many of the mainstream American denominations in church, they're declining. Some of them are becoming liberals and dying. And I think we see ourselves as missionaries coming here to the place that we love and we're very thankful for. And if the Lord wants to use us here, we are here to be used. We are here to proclaim the gospel, to reclaim whatever is away from the Lord, whatever is away from the gospel back, because of the history that this land has, that is so rich in terms of biblical grounds and things like that. And we don't want America to lose that.
That's right. And it's not just that God's Spirit is at work in a particular way among Portuguese-speaking people in the United States. God's doing something really remarkable in Brazil too.
Yes.
Like this is, you're finding this in Portuguese-speaking in West Africa. There's something happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
All over the world.
I think we're going to speak Portuguese in heaven. No,
we can talk tongues if you want to talk tongues. We can go there if you want to. But
as a matter of fact,
let's talk tongues.
There is something going on, not only with the gospel as a whole, which is great or greater than anything else, but even many people are coming out of, as Samy said a while ago, from cults and from so-called churches, but there are not churches coming to the Reformed faith, and they just want the scriptures. They just want the Bible and the true preaching of that. And what we're seeing in Orlando right now, is starting in Tampa as well. It's something that we are not prepared for, Adam, is Americans coming to our churches to listen to the translation of what we're saying in their own country. I mean, we're not prepared for that.
Unbelievable.
Me too.
Unbelievable.
Me too. This is...
Yep.
I want to speak about that. The moment that we are, I think it's not among Brazilians, from what I can hear from different cultures, but in Brazil, I could tell God is doing something. But I believe there's something like of course, there's God's sovereignty and the Spirit. He blows wherever He pleases. But I also see the culture going through a pendulum that goes all the way to liberalism and coaching gospel, that people gets comfortable where they are, and then they see that that's not the solid food. That's not what the gospel is, and they return and say, hey, we need more food. We need the Word of God, and through that they are looking for solid biblical churches, and that's why we're experiencing this, like people coming to the Lord and coming looking for healthy churches, and the Lord is doing something through that. I think it's because they experience something that they're like, oh, this is not all. There's something more about it. It's not about this earthly thinking, but it's about a kingdom thinking. And then I think God is using that to bring them back to the Word of God.
Yes, I think some of the preaching that has been going on for the last decades is too much focus in what you can have here and now in this world, and the promises that are made for several years now are not coming to fulfillment,
right?
Because that's not what the Bible is talking about.
You can only say, "Wait, hold on, it'll come in a minute."
Yes.
Before everybody goes, your minutes are up.
That's right. That's right. And then we come with the gospel that tells you that you can go through hardships, that you can go through these things with the understanding that you can endure those things because you have the Lord, because you have a shepherd with you throughout even the valley of the shadow of death, and He will not leave you or forsake you. He will be with you.
Yeah,
it's a complete. It's an opposite message.
That's right.
That people are saying, okay, that makes sense.
but one of substance and holds ground and holds water, and yeah, absolutely.
Amen.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah. Well, I think this is such an important discussion to be having because of the moment we are in, particularly in the United States, but in some other places around the world too, of we need to be paying attention to this as a network, as churches that want to plant churches. It's what we don't want to do is run out, try to create something, and then invite God to follow us.
That's right.
What we're really trying to do, you said it, where the wind blows where it wills. And so that truth of John 3 is still true today. And so what we want to do is go, all right, Lord, where's your Spirit blowing? And then how do we pay attention to that and follow that?
It's like in Fort Myers that happened because this couple, they're alone there looking for a healthy church, but like they found an American church, but it's not like the language barrier is a problem. So I think they were watching a podcast with Simone Quaresma, and Simone Quaresma is a friend of him. Okay, my friend is playing in a church in Orlando. So they start to, every Sunday, back and forth. It's like 7-hour driving, 3 hours and a half, 3 hours and a half, the service and everything. And they start to, okay, we need to share this here. So they invited other families. And then, so like what we did, we identify what God was doing there. And okay, now like was not in the plans to plan a church in Fort Myers, but that wasn't in God's plan. So we just understood. Okay. And then this guy went to Massachusetts and invited me. And I already had like another call for be like a PCA pastor. And he start, okay, show me the pictures. the sheep needs pastors, and he invited me to come here. They need you there, and they put the people there to in my okay. We need so like I've tried to not come. He knows.
Jonah.
Was
It just
literally
goes over and over again.
literally that.
I've
Literally
heard that before.
Literally that. I was running away, and God, okay, I want you there, and no matter what you think.
So he went to Fort Myers and said, in
Lots of
40
people would
days-
call Fort Myers. Sorry, Fort Myers. Sorry, we love you, Fort Myers.
but
So like I think we have to have this perception that like what God is calling us to do, because it's His mission, it's not ours. We are invited to.
Amen.
to
That's
work
right.
in that.
yeah.
So and He's doing something in the Brazilian community. He's starting here. I think like there's another church, Brazilian church. There's not Esperança. There's doing good too, but with the same root, the reform and the healthy gospel preaching every Sunday. And this is touching heart. Okay, that's not what we want, but that's everything we need, and they are coming.
Yeah, absolutely. What were you going to say?
I think that we need to pay attention about the God doing in the world, not necessarily just here in United States. Have many scholarship students the phenomenon about the hemisphere
South Hemisphere.
South hemisphere. It's go the many missionaries and the evangelisms and the north
Right,
hemisphere.
the global south growing
Yeah.
in terms of
Yeah.
faith and then sending to the north.
Because the occidental side of the world, this is north hemisphere, abandoning God, abandoning the world. Some people, of course, no generally, but in this case, it maybe look like the God is the weak things, the spread the gospel for the strongest things. And I think this is the God ways for this moment in the global.
Yeah.
This is his calling the God for the pay attention for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to say as a network, we love what you guys are doing. We are honored to be a part of what you're doing. And,
Thank you, Adam.
And I told you that we were together earlier eating lunch, and I just said, we want to pour gas on this fire.
Yeah.
We want to fan the flame of this.
Adam, we are, as a matter of fact, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
We are so thankful for what Acts 29 is and is doing, and the mindset. When I first met the guys here in Orlando, just good to hang out with them, and then I understood that a theological clarity, brotherhood, and heart for church planting. Those are the three things we're all about.
Yeah.
So
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
And we love to hang out with you guys. We are. I mean, I think it was one of the highlights of my life is being part of this. I love this. I love what is in the heart. I mean, knowing what is on the screens is one thing, but knowing personally and understanding what the network and what we together want to achieve is something that is really.
Amen.
I love that.
Yeah.
I praise the Lord for that.
So if folks in the network want to get in touch with you and just unload their bank accounts on you, or want to support the work, or they have friends that they want to send, they have Portuguese speaking friends, where do they find you?
Thank you for that. I mean, we are our church is Esperança, not Esperanza. It's Esperança with a C, and then Esperança BPC, Bible Presbyterian Church. And with that, you can find us on YouTube, on Instagram. We use a lot of Instagram.
That's right.
mainly.
You do a great job online. You guys are.
On Instagram, and from there you can meet us, and I mean, we interact very well through that.
That's great. That's great. Well, man, I would just encourage guys in the network, if this is a worthy place to invest in and be partnered in, and we value church to church partnerships, and other groups that are planting. We would love to know where the Lord is at work and get behind you, because we were saying there, South Koreans, other folks from Latin America, and Indian, Southeast Asian. So we're beginning to see all of those things, and so I feel like the Lord is doing something, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation today with you.
Thank you, Adam. We really appreciate that.
Brothers, it's good to be with you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Acts 29 podcast. If you want to connect with Acts 29 or find out more about planting a church with Acts 29, you can go to acts29.com. Go ahead and hit like on the podcast, and don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. Thanks again for joining us.